Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, it's going to be a little bit different in the fact that I'm just going to be like taking you behind the scenes and stuff of making some things rather than showing you like the plain tutorials. I wanted to show you like the process of me making something, which is going to be polymer clay keychains, and then like showing you how I take the photos of it, how I like, you know, just briefly upload it and then package it off to sell, just as an overview. If you want like more detailed bits in certain sections, like listing things on Etsy or like how I package up orders to sell, that sort of stuff, then do just comment down below and ask, because I'd love to do that for you. These are more the videos that I've been watching recently because I am intending to open up a super cute shop. There'll be more information on that coming next weekend because I do need you guys' help on one thing. So yeah, I will go into that a little bit more. So if you're into like the merch type thing, you've been one of those people who've been asking me for it, this may be of interest to you coming next week. But yeah, today I wanted to just run you through like the making of these polymer clay keychains that I've shown on my Instagram. But if you don't follow me on Instagram, I basically just like made like loads of little cuties like this. Like this is the baguette one. They are so glittery and cute, oh my goodness. A couple of them have sold, but they are, like I said, on my Etsy shop. If you want to go and have a look, I will leave that down in the description. But yeah, I thought that this would be a fun video to kind of bring you along on. It is a new Etsy shop. I opened it a couple of weeks ago. I am an Etsy experienced kind of Etsy seller anyway, just with another shop which I've actually gone over 5,000 sales on now, but I want to open up a cute kawaii shop to go like with this channel. Just think it'll be adorable. I know you guys will love it. So yeah, I thought that this video would be a little bit of fun today, just going behind the scenes and also sharing like kind of a brief overview of how I made these as well, just to kind of inspire you to get creating, maybe even get selling your pieces if that's something that you want to get into, because it was something I've wanted to get into for a while and I'm now going to start doing it. So yeah, I thought I would take you along with the journey on how I made these polymer clay keychains. So the polymer clay that I like to use over any is the Fimo Soft in the colour Rose, or sometimes it's known as Flesh in the shade Light. I just like this one because I like the texture, I like moulding it with my hands, I don't use any fancy tools, and it dries a nice light colour so that I'm able to paint it really easy. Once I have my shape done, I then just insert the eye pin whilst the clay is still soft, and then I usually use a pin just to spread the clay over the eye pin just to make sure it's really embedded. I do most of my sculpting on ceramic tiles. I used to bake them straight on the ceramic tiles, but since I've been painting on them, they've built up some like acrylic paint on now, so I don't put them in the oven anymore. So what I do is I pop them back on the tile once they're made, go all the way down to my oven in the kitchen, and then just set my oven at 110 degrees Celsius, and then I transfer them over from the tile onto a baking tray with some like parchment paper on, just to make sure they don't stick, make sure they're all good to go before baking, and that's it. Okay, so moving on to the next stage after you have like your pieces, what you want to do then is paint them. So to paint mine, I use acrylic paints. I just like acrylic paints. They dry fast, dry waterproof. I like, you know, I just really get along with acrylic. So the brands that I use, is something I get asked quite a lot, is the brand PBO. I really recommend the PBO Studio acrylics, and then the other brand is Royal and Langnickel. They come in like little bottles like this. I like to have a lot of these just kicking around. I do have the matte version of the PBOs as well if you want a matte, but to be honest, I'm going to be glazing them anyway, so I've just been using the mix of these two. Highly recommend them. They're nice and affordable, and yeah, great acrylic paints. So I'm going to run you through all the bits and tips and tricks on how I paint my polymer clay charms now. So the first thing I do before any painting is I actually just make sure that the charm is perfectly smooth, just nice and shaped. I usually use like a nail file, something like that. I have a set of them which I've just reserved for doing polymer clay charms for, because it does kind of clog up the nail like files a little bit, the plastic in it does. But yeah, I find it really handy to use those on smaller parts especially, or just sandpaper. What I do to paint mine is I use some blue tack, and I blue tack the charms down to my ceramic tiles, and then I'm able to like prop them up in front of a fan or something to dry, and I usually do like 3 at a time, alternating between each one that's, you know, by the fan, just to speed up the base layers a little bit. Once I have all of the base layers and everything like that, I then move on to the details. But I mean, as you can see here, like when I have it on the blue tack, you can really get into like all of those spaces. Like I'm painting on the bit for the watermelon and you can get right around that edge because it's held by the blue tack. Honestly, a great tip. I would recommend it to anyone who, you know, paints polymer clay charms. So the details on my pieces take me absolutely forever because I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to things like that. I try to use small nail art brushes with normal acrylic, but when it comes to faces I often find myself using Posca paint pens just to get the small black details on, because I do not want to mess that up, because black is such a hard colour to cover up when you need to. So as you can see here, I'm just painting on the details with a nail art brush. Would recommend nail art brushes just because they're so much cheaper, and then when you get like the line art ones, oh, they're so thin and it's brilliant. Giving you a little close up here of what I'm doing with, you know, the Posca paint pens, just drawing that on, getting the face on, and then going back in with the nail art brush to paint on any extra details that isn't black. I have no idea why I just said it like that, but yeah, I just paint over it with the nail art brush. Just look, little tiny details, a little tiny brush, it just works out great. Okay, so glazing, this is one of those things that took me forever to get right. I finally only just figured it out. I like to use UV resin to glaze just because I love the glossiness it brings, and it's also quick to cure. I find the room that I work in, which is this one, it has carpet on the floor, it has a lot of like dust flying around from pieces of fabric that I cut, from bits of foam that I cut, and more often than I can even explain, when I've coated with like a polyurethane varnish or something like that, I've left it overnight, I've come back, it's covered in fluff, and that is not what you want when you're going to be selling your pieces. So for me, UV resin works really well. It is a little bit more expensive just because the small balls are quite expensive, but I find it's worth it. It gives such a nice coating, it increases the strength, so I use UV resin for my pieces. It's all about finding what works for you, what works in your price point. Just, yeah, UV resin for me is the one. So what I like to do when, you know, coating with UV resin, I just usually just squirt it out into a little cupcake mold that I have. This is just a silicone mold for like making polymer clay charms into cupcakes. It's like the base mold. I find this is like the perfect little cup to hold the amount of UV resin that I usually need for a project, so I use that. Then once I'm done with it, I could just cure that and peel the excess out. So I use a little craft brush, which is like for kids and stuff. The amount of paintbrushes I've gone through using UV resin, because sometimes it can cure on it and ruin it. Yeah, just use the cheap brushes for any resin you are using. You do not want to risk ruining any, you know, really good brushes. I do glaze mine on a silicone mat as well, because if there's any dripping on that, I can then peel it off. I cure it down with a nail lamp, which I've recently bought. I used to use a little LED torch, but I've bought a nail lamp off of Amazon. I pop that over the whole silicone mat, making sure that they're all underneath there, and then I just cure it down for a couple of minutes. So in regards to the amount of layers and stuff on UV resin, I usually put, I don't know, just depends on the piece. On these particular ones, I put a coat of UV resin, then 2 coats of resin mixed in with some holographic glitter, and then another coat of UV resin to make it shiny and smooth after the glitter, you know. So I had 4 coats of UV resin in total, 2 glitter in. That just made a really, really nice, you know, holographic effect. I showed you the baguette. I'll show you it on, I don't know, this watermelon one here. Like, I put them in little bags just to keep them safe and clean and everything. But yeah, can you see all of that? If I block out my face, it might help. Like how glittery they are. I just add loads of little bits of glitter in there, and I think that makes it just a little bit more special, you know. Look at that. Oh, love that. So yeah, on to making the little charms into keychains. Now this bit takes me forever, but I basically just use a regular keychain and then 2 pairs of pliers. So I have 1 just regular pliers and then 1 to open split rings. I like to replace all single rings with the double split rings just so that it's more secure. also like to add little satin bows onto my pieces just because I think it adds a little bit of extra texture, a little bit extra, you know, just extraness. I know a lot of people like to add resin charms here, but I like to use actual ribbon, satin, or, you know, organza mixed in. I just think it looks cuter, and then the buyer obviously has the option to remove it if they don't like it. I don't know, I think it just adds a little bit of a touch that's quite nice. I do make sure to seal in all the ends with a lighter just to make sure that the ribbons don't fray and stay nice and neat. So I do all of my product kind of photography on my iPhone. I just find it easier just to take the pictures really quickly, then I edit them all up on there. If you want an in-depth, you know, video on this, then just comment that down below. I'm happy to film one for you if that's going to help anyone. But yeah, I just I just take the pictures using my phone, just regular phone. This is an iPhone 8, I think, so it's not the newest one. You don't need the newest one. If you just take some nice pictures with good lighting, you're good to go. The only lighting I use is either natural or just my studio lights if I'm doing it in here. Sometimes I'll take it outside, but yeah, just use what you've got basically. Once I have taken all the photos, I just go onto Etsy, type up a brief description, give sizes, that sort of stuff, and just wait for them to sell. I use all my tags, I post on my Instagram, that sort of stuff. I will tell you guys about them. But yeah, once they have sold, it's down to the packaging. I keep my packaging really kind of simple for now. I don't have any business cards, that's why I made these guys, so that I can sell them and then have some money to make business cards. But yeah, I just go, I package them up, wrap them in tissue paper, add on some washi tape. I usually write out a little hand note and then bubble wrap the whole thing up, put them in a mailing bag. I usually like to use like quite fun ones because I think it's like loads of fun getting nicely wrapped things in the post. So I use like either pink ones, holographic ones, something along the lines of that. Attach the shipping label to you know, the outside and stuff, all the relevant like labels, and then just take it off to the post office. That is pretty much the whole like thing. It's pretty much the whole process of how I make the piece from scratch to how it goes out my door. So like I said, today's video is going to be a little bit different. Hopefully you found it interesting, especially if you're looking to do something like this yourself. If you're looking to maybe buy one, support me in any way, or you want to hold out till you hear the news next weekend, I hope you do, because I'm really nervous about it. I will be filming behind the scenes for that as well. Oh yeah, I'm so excited, I'm so nervous. But yeah, hopefully you have enjoyed this video. If you did, then please do give it a thumbs up, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye.